Moving on in our series about social class in England, education is another key factor we want to explore to get some more insights into the English class system. Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. This citation by Nelson Mandela emphasizes the importance of education in bringing about change and improving the situation of people in a society. In the context of social class, education can be understood as a means to climb up in social rank. On the other hand, however, it is often argued that your social background hugely influences your career. Therefore, the main purpose of this video is to show how social class and education influence each other, and to find out whether education is rather a determiner or an indicator of an individual's social class in England. Traditionally, different social classes have often been associated with different levels of education. It could even be argued that in the past, the English school system educated working, middle and upper class pupils for different functions in society. Children from poorer backgrounds generally went to secondary modern schools until they turned 16 and then did an apprenticeship in order to become manual workers such as hairdressers, plumbers or carpenters. On the other hand, teenagers from wealthier homes were by far more likely to stay in education after 16 and obtain a university degree. Generally, the elite were educated at boarding schools, which have a long history in England. But these are all stereotypes linked to a three-class model and may no longer be accurate. In this video, we are going to take a more detailed look at the interdependencies between social class and education in England. As indicated in the introductory video to our series on social class in England, the Great British Class Survey produced a new model with 7 social classes, namely the elite, the established middle class, the technical middle class, the new affluent workers, the emergent service workers, the traditional working class, and the precariat. For more information on the 7 classes, you can watch their video. Often, people claim that a person's social background has an immense influence on their education and career, and that children are likely to follow in their parents' footsteps. But on the other hand, there are also many examples of people who were able to break free of the social class and climb up the social ladder despite their less affluent background. So the first issue we want to address in this video is the direction of the influence. Does the social class you belong to affect your education? Or is it rather the opposite, and your level of education determines your social class? Perhaps we will also find out that someone's education and social class mutually affect each other. Recent studies by sociologist Diane Ray have shown that a growing material gap between the rich and poor also brings with it a growing educational gap between the social classes in England. She points out that the majority of children who do well in education come from comparatively wealthy backgrounds, while children from poorer backgrounds are often left behind by the school system. In this video, we are going to explore if the existing inequalities between the rich and the poor in the English educational system can be explained with regard to social class. Furthermore, it is no secret that teachers, children and parents have certain expectations of pupils' school careers and attainment. Knowing about pupils' social backgrounds, it is possible that both teachers and children adapt their behavior and actively influence a pupil's performance based on their individual perceptions of the different social classes. We asked ourselves whether certain beliefs about children and their social background determine their educational success, and whether the English educational school system is, therefore, a self-fulfilling prophecy. Also, we want to examine whether there are other relevant factors linked to social class which lead to educational differences. So, our question again is, which way round is the influence between social class and education? In the following, we are going to answer the questions with the help of information we gathered from several academic sources and newspaper articles and a survey in which we asked 20 people in England about their opinions on social class and education. For each question, we will refer to published sources first and then have a closer look at the answers in our survey and analyze in how far the results differ.
Let's try to answer our first question and have a look at some statistics that might tell us about the link between education and social class in England. In her doctoral thesis on social class inequality in educational attainment and participation in England, Mary Bourne found out that children from more affluent families have parents who have been educated to higher levels than parents from lower social class backgrounds. While 88% of people from higher income households have a university-level education, only 12% of people from lower income households are educated at university level. Also, people from less affluent backgrounds are more likely to leave school with fewer GCSEs or no qualification at all, compared to people from more privileged backgrounds, as pointed out by Bourne. Therefore, the data suggests that a person's social background strongly influences their education and, as a result, their occupation and financial status. An article by Matthew Taylor, published in The Guardian in 2006, pointed out that, according to researchers from University College London and King's College London, a child's social background is the most important factor when it comes to their academic career. This explains why the majority of children who do well in education are from comparatively affluent backgrounds, while children from less wealthy families often seem to be left behind by the English school system. But in how far does education determine social class? Certainly, there are numerous examples of people who originally came from a less wealthy social class and were able to climb up the social ladder through education. One prime example is sociologist Diane Ray herself. She and her 7 siblings grew up on a council estate and received free school meals. Education opened up new opportunities for her in life. She worked as a teacher in London and is now a Cambridge professor doing research on social class in education. Compared to other Western industrialized countries, however, social mobility in England is rather low due to a shift in England's economy. With more and more people in higher occupations in the service sector, there are fewer people who can actually move up, and there is even the risk of downward social mobility, as Eurofund claims in their report on social mobility. The Social Mobility Commission points out that social mobility in England is highly linked to where people live, known as the Social Mobility Postcode Lottery. Also, the Commission revealed a north-south divide, with London and its surrounding areas having the highest social mobility index.
In contrast to our literary sources, which emphasize that social class rather determines education, the majority of the participants in our survey think that education is a determiner of social class. When asked about which ways social class and education influence each other, 14 out of 20 people who completed our survey said that education rather influences social class than the other way round. As an explanation of this answer, the majority stated that their parents valued education, so that the effort they put into their studies played a bigger role than their less affluent background. According to the participants, their work ethic determined their opportunities and achievements in life rather than their family background and financial status. Furthermore, one person said that it also depends on the goals people set for themselves. If teenagers want to obtain a university degree, they would be more motivated to reach this goal than somebody who sets lower goals. Apart from that, the participants also pointed out that the area in which one lives also defines the kind of education one can receive. This means that if one lives in a wealthy area, better scholastic education is available. However, participants' answers also showed that they think they would have done better in their academic career if their parents could have helped them financially, mainly when it comes to university access. Therefore, the influence between education and social class can be considered mutual. If someone is diligent and values school and education, social class does not necessarily determine their educational achievements. However, the parents' financial situation can certainly pave the way for someone to obtain a better or higher level of education.
Diane Ray and other researchers argue that the educational gap between the social classes has widened as a consequence of a growing financial gap between the rich and the poor. The statistics from Mary Bourne's work we presented earlier already hinted at inequalities in the English school system, with children from lower income households being less likely to achieve an education compared to their counterparts from wealthier homes. In 2018, Sonia Blandford published an article in The Guardian and presented results from the OECD's Programme for International Student Assessment. The data collated by the OECD revealed that by the end of secondary school, the most disadvantaged teenagers are on average 2 years of learning behind their more privileged classmates. In how far can these inequalities be explained with regard to social class? First of all, researchers such as Diane Ray argue that from a historical view of schooling, the English educational system has always educated different classes for different functions in society. Ray says that people from less affluent backgrounds were manual workers, while those from the middle classes were policing and controlling them, also with regard to education. She also emphasizes that, traditionally, the education of people from less advantaged backgrounds has always been considered a failure, and still today this view seems to be widespread, as indicated by Sonia Blandford in The Guardian in 2018. So historical reasons and negative associations with lower classes might be one possible explanation for the educational gap in England. Also, parents' attitudes towards education and their engagement in their child's school career play an important role. In her research, Mary Bourne found out that a higher proportion of parents from wealthier backgrounds participate in their child's school life by attending parents' evenings than a proportion of parents from lower income homes. One crucial factor seems to be money, both on a personal level and on a national level. In an interview with The Guardian in 2017, Diane Ray said that as a consequence of funding cuts, many schools offer fewer extracurricular activities. She stated that this development mainly affects children from less affluent homes. Since their parents might not be able to afford sports or music lessons and so on, these children are less likely to access these activities outside of school. Pupils from more advantaged backgrounds, however, often do get a lot of parental support and can develop new skills and knowledge via extracurricular activities and private tuition their parents are able to afford. In her doctoral thesis, Mary Bourne points out that children from higher income homes thus have a higher cultural capital, which explains their educational privilege over children from less affluent homes.
When it comes to the educational gap between the rich and the poor, the survey answers generally confirm the academic research. In particular, 14 out of 20 people questioned said that children from a more affluent background are more likely to do better in school and participate in higher education. As reasons for these answers, the participants indicated more opportunities for children from higher income homes, for instance, better schools or better study material, such as additional textbooks or computers, which they can use for their home learning. Furthermore, they pointed out that pupils from an affluent background are more likely to participate in extracurricular activities and are more encouraged at home, and that their parents' expectations of success are higher. Thus, children from a wealthier background tend to get more parental support. It is also significant that the interviewed people listed ethnicity as a factor for success in school, although this might be only a stereotype. Another big advantage for wealthy students are the networking opportunities when studying at a renowned university. After obtaining their degree at that university, they are usually directly placed in good positions, for example, well-paid management jobs. However, some participants in our survey stated that there is no educational gap and that it always depends on the pupil's work ethic. Teenagers can, for instance, rely on their parents' wealth and not study, or they can achieve more than that. The same counts for pupils from less affluent backgrounds. Either they study and work hard in order to achieve more and climb up in social rank, or they don't. Regardless of their social background, children and parents' aspirations seem to be a decisive factor regarding their educational achievement. Based on the statistics presented so far, we can conclude that there is an educational gap in England. Our literature review and the survey answers indicate the importance of values, money, and where you live, which all somehow link to social class. Therefore, the inequalities in the English school system can, at least partly, be explained with regard to social class.
We have already talked about negative associations with people from lower income households and them being seen as failures of the system. This perception is a key component when discussing the English educational system as a self-fulfilling prophecy. Many pupils from less affluent homes often report that they do not feel respected in school, as Diane Ray found out in her study. Children from less affluent backgrounds say that teachers look down on them and consider them inadequate learners due to their social background. Ray revealed that it is especially girls from less advantaged homes who perceive themselves as literally nothing. The sociologist also revealed that teachers really do treat children differently on the basis of their expectations. For example, pupils from more affluent homes tend to get more positive feedback than children from less wealthy social classes. In his literature review on social class and educational achievement in England, Joshua Gardner concludes that both pupils' self-perceptions as well as the teacher's beliefs in children's poor performance lead to a lack of motivation and affection for school among pupils from less affluent backgrounds. He points out that these finally create a self-fulfilling prophecy, which is a prediction that becomes true because both pupils and teachers expect it to be true and behave accordingly. The self-fulfilling prophecy is not only linked to teachers' expectations of pupils' achievements, it also refers to pupils' self-perception. As indicated in Sonia Blandford's article in The Guardian, an Ipsos Mori poll found out that the number of teenagers from less privileged backgrounds who believe they will go on to university has never been lower than today. On the other hand, Mary Bourne revealed that teenagers from higher social classes tend to believe in more successful careers. As we know from our statistics earlier, these beliefs often go hand in hand with the actual academic careers of pupils from different social backgrounds. Therefore, the English educational system really seems to be a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Let's have a look at what people in our survey think about teachers' beliefs and behavior linked to social class. Although 14 out of 20 interviewees in our survey agreed that teachers have certain expectations about pupils, only 9 participants think that teachers treat pupils differently when they know about their social background. As contradictory as this result is, as contradictory are the comments given when it comes to the English educational system as a self-fulfilling prophecy. Considering teachers' expectations, the people surveyed answered that teachers mainly pay attention to children's attitudes and their will to study, the family background, their hobbies, accent, and again, ethnicity. Hence, it is possible that teachers discriminate against pupils on the basis of several indicators of social class, although they might not do so consciously. The survey participants believe that pupils' work ethic is more important to teachers than all the other factors, but pupils' background and, therefore, their wealth would play a role. This fact is also underlined by the comments given about the teachers' behavior towards their pupils when they know about their social class. While 11 people questioned think that the teacher's behavior does not change, the other 9 interviewees answered that it might change. As reasons for a change in behavior, they indicated that teachers understand that pupils from less affluent background need more support and are, therefore, supported by the teachers in order to achieve equally compared to their classmates from higher income families. Apart from that, one participant answered that schools rely on donations, which is why teachers could possibly spend more time helping children from well-off families so that the school receives more financial support from those parents. Furthermore, another participant believes that some teachers distinguish between female and male pupils. While female pupils are seen as more diligent, male pupils tend to be more rebellious in a teacher's eyes. According to our survey, the English educational system might be a self-fulfilling prophecy, considering that social class plays a crucial role, but other factors such as pupils' work ethic cannot be denied. Now that we are almost at the end of our video, we would like to sum up our main points. We have found out that education and social class in England mutually affect each other. Due to a lack of social mobility, social class highly determines one's education and career, and consequently also influences one's wealth. Still, we have to point out that education serves different purposes for the different social classes in our 7-class model. People belonging to the elite do not necessarily need education to maintain their social status, since they inherited their class and mainly define themselves by wealth. Especially for new affluent workers, education is a key factor that brings them stability and the chance to improve their financial situation. For them, education can be a means to climb up in social rank. People belonging to the lowest social class, the precariat, generally have the lowest level of education. The association that they are lazy and simply not interested in education is probably a prejudice though, since their financial situation greatly hinders their academic success. So, is it really all about the money? With regard to our literary sources and our survey, we can answer this question by indicating that social class is not only defined by money, but also by education. However, education itself is connected with money, since affluent people are able to afford a better education, mainly when it comes to university studies. Apart from that, these parents can pay for extracurricular activities, better schools, for instance, public schools, or better equipment, which all have a positive impact on their children's academic careers. In addition, affluent parents can afford to live in a wealthy area where there are schools with a good reputation. Furthermore, there are some other indicators which are important. First, children from an affluent background receive more attention. Since their parents are more likely to be involved in their children's education, these pupils feel more motivated and therefore do better at school. Second, a child's self-perception is crucial for his or her academic career. When the educational goals are set high, children show more effort in reaching them than pupils who set their goals lower. This fact also has an impact on the teacher's perception of pupils, which means that teachers are more likely to support children who work hard. Therefore, children who show less effort due to a lack of positive beliefs are often left behind. These findings have shown that the English educational system seems to be a self-fulfilling prophecy, resembling a vicious circle from which it is hard to break free.
Although the correlation between wealth and all the other factors linked to education seems to be high, a strong self-belief and work ethic can also be present around children from less affluent backgrounds and help them obtain a good education and finally climb up the social ladder.